Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to another traditional draft of Through the Omenpaths, the Magic Arena in-universe version of the Marvel Spider Man set that is coming to paper this week. Without further ado, let's just get into another draft. This is traditional, so we are drafting with 8 players. However, every draft in the set on Arena is a pick 2 draft. This is an 8-player pick 2 per pick draft pod. We'll be playing 3 best of 3 games no matter what. That out of the way, let's get into the pack 1, pick 1 and 2. Stitcher's Wings seems like a decently powerful card that can fit into literally any color pair. It's at its best when you have access to some ways to discard it for the Mayhem ability, so Conniving is very good with it. Blue has access to Connive, red-black has ways to discard it as well. So if you're in red, blue, or black, you have ways to discard it. So it's best in those, but it can fit into anything. Then Argear here is probably the strongest mono-colored card. This keeps us nice and open off of the first picks here. We can go into blue-white or blue-black off of that. Those are the two blue-based archetypes in the set, which means the 2 color pairs blue has that will be represented at common and uncommon. Because it is a Spider-Man set, there are going to be some 2 color rares of every different 2 color pair. Like there will be a black-white rare or green-black rare, because there's like a Craven and a Mr. Negative and stuff like that. But those are not supported archetypes at the common and uncommon level. You won't see signpost uncommons in those color pairs. Anyways, pick 2, Robotics Mastery's been pretty decent. Just a lot of stats for the cost, and being able to flash it in works as a trick. Very expensive trick, so it's a pretty bad trick on like blocks. But if your opponent's tapped out, setting in for the attack, you can often find a great spot to pass this down based on how they blocked. So I do like that card. And then Hide and Mundanity is decent. It doesn't fully deal with whatever you're putting it on, but it gets rid of all of its abilities and makes it a 1/1 defender. So that's more than reasonable for a blue removal spell. That said, it's competing with the Web Keepers, which is kind of gnarly and plays really well with the Mastery. It's also very flexible, being a hybrid mana spell. We can play this whether we're green or white, any of those colors. So we could be blue-white and play this card. We actually take the Web Keepers here. I think some of the best decks that I've seen in the set, very core setty, very standard, just curve out 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop creature. Play dudes and attack. And this is ridiculous in that kind of deck. If you go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, and then Web Keepers, buff your whole board, it's going to be absolutely gnarly. So pick 3, focus up on spiders here with Arouse the Swarm. That plays really well with the Web Keepers. I kind of like maybe pushing towards a spider-focused green deck here rather than blue-white, because I don't like the blue that's been getting passed to us so far. I'm really not a fan of the Pinnacle Research team, and now the Alley Lurkers as well is just not the greatest. Maybe we get to play a completely opposite direction this time around and go for green-white web slinging. There's a decent amount of spiders in the green-white color pair, because Spider-Men are heroes, so there's a lot of mono-white Spider-Men because they're heroic, and there's a lot of green spiders just in general, so I think green-white would be a good spot for Rouse the Swarm. It's obviously a great spot for the Web Keepers, and again, I have not liked the blue cards that have been flying around the draft pod at this point. Here the best card is Wisecrack, so that's worth remembering. Maybe green-red is a different way we could go. We go deep on green. That's another spider-heavy color pair. It's a very good green card here. Cruel Caracols. 2 mana 2/2. It's got a built-in combat trick, so it's hard to block it well when your opponent's threatening to buff it up. All right. Back to pick 1. Select 2. That is a very mid pack, unless this is a good card. 8 mana, but you can convoke it. At the beginning of combat on your turn, look at the top 5 cards of the library. You may put a creature from among them onto the battlefield. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that's a good card. 8 mana is a lot, but tapping your creatures towards casting that seems fine. And the fact that it triggers at the beginning of combat means the turn you play it, it's okay if you tap all your creatures, because you're still going to have 1 up on blocks, because you're getting 1 the turn you play it, if there's one in the top 5. So you do want to be a creature-heavy deck, but I think green-white would be a good color pair to be, a 17-creature deck, where almost half the deck is creatures. That makes it very unlikely to miss looking at the top 5. So lock in here on green-white web slinging for our second draft. That seems pretty good to me. We're 100% locked in on green. I suppose green-red is still a potential. Definitely favored fighter here. Again, 100% locked in on green. Other options are the Crime Scene Instructor, which has a good ability when it leaves the battlefield, so it's good to web sling that away. And also, I think you do need a good chunk of 2-drops for the web slinging decks, because we've got very important 3-mana web slingers. Also, Opulent Valet, though, it's easier to web sling that because it's evasive, it's a flyer, so it's easier to attack in and have it tapped on the board, but less beneficial, it's a little harder to recast than doing like the Instructor. The Free Strider Aces is okay too, but it's a nombo with web slinging, which is funny. Because giving somebody Vigilance means you're not going to have a tapped creature. Okay, another Rouse the Swarm, going deep on spiders here. These play well in multiples. Spectacular Tactics is nice and flexible too. You can save one of your creatures from a combat trick and permanently buff it, or you can blow up your opponent's biggest creature in the late game. Gallant Citizen is incredible with web slinging. If your opponent does not have the 2-drop blocker for this, just poke them for 1, pick it up, get ready to recast and draw another card. Lurking Lizards is probably okay here as well. We've actually got a lot of 4-mana or greater spells to be buffing it with, and I believe it counts when you web sling a 5-drop as well too. So I like the Lizards here over a 5-drop. Another Lizards and then a Flying Combat Trick looks fine. Combat Trick in the early game to save your cheap little attacker. Your opponent, when you're playing green-white, is going to want to block your creatures like as often as possible. So you can kill their bigger stuff with combat tricks a little more easily, a little more frequently, and then in the late game you might be able to fly in for the last couple points of damage with that. Is this good in mono green? 2-mana 1/2, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 2 creatures. So 2 mana for a 2/3 that puts a +1/+1 counter on somebody else. Yes, it is. Even if I do not splash red, this card is playable. So we'll take that. Obviously, if we do splash red, it'll be good. I've got 2 Zan and a treasure token from Favorite Fighter. It's like a good spot for that. I'm still really low on interaction. I have 1 Spectacular Tactics. So I'd probably take a second Spectacular Tactics. Really would have preferred like the enchantment-based exile removal here, or maybe the green 2 of your creatures shoot somebody, but I'll take what I can get, because I need interaction. I think that Chizak and Basil are both strong in this kind of archetype, but the Tactics is filling a hole that I really, really need to add to this deck. And Kren is just, I mean, a mythic that could be absurdly powerful when we hit the splash color and is still very solid when we don't. We've even got a Chariot to tutor out a mountain if we want that. Another Diligent Webkeepers, well that's absurd. Another Gallant Citizen, a green-white duel, a City Pigeon to web sling up. This is a very, very good pack. I kind of think I have to take Webkeepers and Citizen here. Just the best cards. They're kind of insane. Yep, come on in. Starting to feel a little bit sad about having taken the Instructors as highly as I did, because we actually did end up with a lot of other great 2-drops, so we'll probably end up cutting them. Leyline Weaver's beautiful for this deck. It is a spider for the double Rouse the Swarm. It is mana ramp to just play things early. It's a creature that we can have become tapped without having to attack with it for web slinging, and it gets our red mana off of the splash, just off of playing a 2-mana green creature. Leyline Weaver's actually perfect here. So happy to see that, and then I'm real happy to see Mothwing Shroud. I don't think I'm going so deep as to splash in a shock. Because I think what's really, really nice here is that just off a single mountain, I can cast the flip side of Kren on occasion, and there is literally like no downside to running Kren, because if I ever don't have the red mana, I'm still just casting creatures on curve. I'm having a good time. But there is a downside to running the shock, right? If I ever draw the shock without a mountain, I'm just straight up down a card. So it's a much harder sell than Kren is. I have a million pastries. I highly doubt I want all these, but we'll see. Okay, 51 cards. Time to cut a bunch of stuff. First off, immediately cut that last pick. of the blue spell. But I want random equipment in here. Get out of here, Cactarantula saddles. Probably cutting the shock off the splash. Probably cutting the chariot, because the splash is incredibly easy if we're not running a shock. And when we don't hit the splash, it doesn't matter at all. Probably cutting the instructors, because I have a million other 2-drops. And then these pastries seem kind of slow. Dirtily, but fine. 3 more cuts here. Probably cut mostly creatures, right? Because these are also creatures. So my current creature count is whatever it says plus 2. 19? Yeah. So we'll cut mostly creatures then. There is still an argument to keep the shock in here, because I have 2 tactics and a shroud without it. And that's it. We have Weaver, Double Zan, Savage Mansion, and a mountain. I probably want to cut down to just the 1 mountain. And then Steelweb Surveyor as well. With double Rouse the Swarm, it's not as bad as normal since it is a spider. I guess there's also that Through the Omenpath that wants the creature count as high as possible for this to be as consistent as possible. And these are 2 creatures that don't count as creature spells. I can't get them off Through the Omenpath. So it's 17 now. I really don't want to go below like 15 for Through the Omenpath. So I could cut a shock and 2 creatures, or I could actually, again, just for Through the Omenpath, cut like a shock and the combat trick, the Lively Leap here. And put as many creatures back into the deck as possible, just for as much stuff to hit off the Omenpath. Alright, sure. All in on Through the Omenpath here. And we'll cut... if I'm cutting the shock, we'll cut the Surveyor. And then boom. All 2-drops. Green-white spiders and web-slinging the deck. Big Stitcher's Wings finisher. I did say specifically this is best in blue, black, and red, and ended up in exactly none of the 3 colors that discard cards to get the mayhem value off of it. But hey. Still going to be a fine finisher, making any of these creatures just kind of a lethal flyer really quickly. Yeah, solid deck here. Some good finishers, double Web Keepers, and the Kren as a huge first striker haster in the late game. This also buffs all of your spiders. It doubles the counters on all of your spiders and legendaries. Interesting. It's not actually insane in here. I don't have that many counters I'm putting onto spiders. But that's cute. Alright. Yeah, cool deck, fun deck. The polar opposite of our first deck. We are playing completely different colors from our blue-black villains deck. Now we are green-white spiders and heroes. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we hop into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for round number 1. I will keep the opening hand. As you can see, the traditional drafts are not ranked, so it is kind of weird they show you each other's rank. Because the matchmaking is not ranked based. You don't gain rank for winning or lose rank for losing. Because they just let you know what you're up against. But the thing is, if somebody only enjoys playing traditional drafts, which is probably going to be me this set, then they'll never gain rank. So their rank is absolutely no indicator of how good they are at drafting if all they draft is traditional draft, or even an indicator of how much they draft in general. So it's just weird that they're showing us each other's rank in traditional draft right now for some reason. Oh, where'd my 1 mountain go? I forgot. It got auto cut? Oh no. It got auto cut. Well, shucks. I'm going to be so sad if we draw the red mythic. We'll obviously put a mountain in between games now. But I did intend to have a 1 of mountain in here. Just completely forgot. I'll hold up Spectacular Tactics and just draw another card off Citizen, I bet. Cool. Draw a card. Oh, Stitcher's Wings? It's not the worst if they kill a 4-3 if I can just turn anybody into a flying massive threat anyway. Sure. They haste things out as well. This is a nice matchup for our first round. Spider heroes versus villains. It's the Vexed bots. Those get bigger every time they play a villain. So it is really heroes versus villains here. No equip of wings I think is fine if I go lizards into Rouse the Swarm to buff the lizards and the spiders. I think I have the blockers now to send both in as well. I believe all of the flash villains, the instant speed villains, are at 3 mana or higher, at least at common and uncommon. There's like a 2 and a black flash legendary villain. It's a 2/2 flyer. So I don't think I need to worry about the bots being a 2/2 on blocks with that citizen there. Here's the Tethek's Gift of Malice. Alright, we found the red source before we hit the red rare anyway. I have exactly enough mana to do all 3 of these things and still play a tap land for the turn, so that looks beautiful. So let's go and do all the things, right? Flample? Flample seems fun. But I could also just threaten to deal 7 and just force a bots trump back with nobody else. That's also pretty solid. Sure. Just force the chump here. I think the only thing I'm really worried about this game is if they have the board wipe. They kind of do win if they have that. But if they have almost anything else, they are just going to lose to this board state. And the board wipe is 2 black and 3, destroy all creatures. So they didn't have it in their hand last turn, or they would have already cast it. Okay. I think they're dead to us killing Tethek's. 2 blockers. Block 5 there, block 3 there. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're not quite dead. I think they're close enough to do this, though. They're dead to that. Okay. Concession from our opponents, so they don't even need to see our mythic rare. And me in the corner embarrassingly sideboarding in a mountain. There we go. Mana base fixed. I don't really think we need to sideboard here. We only saw 4 of their cards. We did not get a great feel for their deck. Generally, the blue-black villains decks, as we saw in our first draft, if you've seen that, our first traditional draft, I should say, they have a lot of good graveyard abilities. Like Tethek's ability can get exiled from the grave for counters, Arala can get exiled from the grave for counters, and those are commons. There's a lot of Conniving where they draw and discard, and Surveilling where they look at the top and put them into the grave. So they can fill the grave and get a lot of value that way. And they could grind out pretty good long games. Well, we're not playing blue. Why am I looking at those? So we have Fixing, basically, Chariot Surveyor, or we have Combat Trick with the Leap, some counters with the Pastries. I guess the Pastries are kind of funny with Kren, right? Then if we cast the 6-mana version of Kren, or flip Kren into the 6-mana version, we actually have some counters to double up. Pastries might be kind of cute in this deck, but when we built it, did specifically try to play a really high creature count, so it's really hard to fit more non-creatures through the Omenpath. So I'm just going to run it back here. Seems like a reasonably good matchup. Mono green opener. And we immediately hit the plains. Okay, Merciless Enforcers starts things from our opponent. We'll play the 1/3. They can't attack through that with the Enforcers. And they also can't block it, which could give me the early Zan here. Ramp up for anything we draw into. The only flaw to the early Zan is that we do miss out on a +1/+1 counter on Lizards this way. It's not getting the counter from playing a big high mana value spell. We'll see if they draw a single removal spell this game. They have not, but they do have a Death Toucher, which is annoying for us. We don't really have a way to kill like a 2/3. We can only kill the big stuff. Spectacular Tactics. There's another Zan for Lizards later once the first one dies. The Lizards can get a counter from the next one. You know, Legend Rule makes just trading into the Death Toucher perfectly fine here. If they don't accept this trade, then I think I'm gonna hold up Spectacular Tactics. Okay. Trade accepted. Here's Crime Scene Instructor. Roble. Guess who's getting tactics? World's biggest lizard. Start the juice. Ooh, we are winning this game. Probably. Yeah, we played Krobel in our first deck. Krobel was very, very good. I'm just going to get that thing off the board before it does anything. I don't know if it's worth losing the 2 +1/+1 counters on Lizards to play Zan here, because we're losing the counter it already has by putting it back in our hand, and we're giving up on giving it a second counter there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Could tap Lizards and just play through the Omenpath and just start going. Let's do it. I'm going to town. What town? Value Town. I'm going through the Omenpaths. I said the thing. We did the thing. I've got the very slow card draw spell. It will start popping off. Gallant Citizen. What's the draw? A Citizen and Webkeepers. I do want to play a Webkeepers because I want to get this up to 5 power to send in. This board state is absolutely nuts. And it's just only going to keep getting crazier and crazier. This is ridiculous. Trump the Webkeepers, draw a card off of that, going to the grave. I mean, if they ever dump all the mana, all the 7 mana they need to draw 2 off of this, they're just gonna die on board for not impacting the board with their mana. Just way too much pressure. There's Skivix, the Augmenter, very fun card we had in our first traditional draft deck. Zan doesn't affect the amount of damage we're doing at all. Actually, he does. It's a +1/+1 counter on the Trampler. That one extra counter might be the difference between lethal or not. Oh, sweet Jesus. Look who's here. I make that a 3/3, then go. Oh my god, wait, we do have synergies for Kren. We have 2 Diligent Webkeepers in the deck that put a counter on the whole board. Be absolutely gnarly. Let's see, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's not going to be lethal even with a counter. But I could kill one of those if I want. I'll just save them. A Kren of the Spider Brood into a Diligent Webkeepers or after a Diligent Webkeepers would be completely absurd. Because then the whole board has a counter, so any spiders on the whole board would double up their counters. And each legendary. So if we have any non-spider legendaries, but I don't think we do. I think all our legends are spiders. Alright. Insane start. Insane start. I feel bad for our opponent. They were basically playing the same deck that we did in our first traditional draft. Just a little bit less removal. And the spider stuff just steamrolled. We absolutely destroyed our past selves. We are 1-0 heading into game number 2. I guess round 2, as it's a traditional draft. Alright, here we are at the start of round 2. Monocolored opener is awkward. But we do start the curve, the crime scene instructor, and we have the Mothwing Shroud for the first threat. We have more green sources in this deck than any other color. I believe we have 9 of them. It's 8 forests in the green-red duel. Starting down a card is rough, but if we don't find the forest within 3 or 4 draw steps, we just lose. I think I gotta take the mulligan there. I'm not very happy with it, but I think it's the right choice. Keep this hand, and I could go full spider by ditching Favored Fighter. It's kind of hard to ditch Favored Fighter when Favored Fighter means that if I hit 4 mana, then I have Webkeepers the turn after. Might have to ditch Rouse the Swarm. It's definitely one of the 4 mana plays, I think, as the card we're ditching. Really don't think we give up on Webkeepers at the top of the curve. We really can't ditch a 2-drop or a land. This might be greedy, but I'm going to get rid of the Treasure Producer and try to go full Spider Squad. Good start. We draw a land, and now Gallant Citizen gets to draw us farther looking for another. Does not find a land, but it finds a Stitcher's Wings. Green-white mirror match. There's the Caracols. That is the land that we are looking for. So here's a 2/3 to block there. Caracols, and now our thing is a 2/2 to trade off. Yep, good trade for us. We already got our value out of the Citizen. I am willing to trade the Citizen and our +++ counter into that. Cool. The only reason to be unhappy about the trade is that with Webkeepers, we do want to try to have as wide of a board as possible by the time we play that. I will miss out on a counter on Lurking Lizards to get Kren in for damage immediately here, having 3 power. Oh, Kren's not a spider yet. Well, it might have been better to play Lizards. Obviously way less mana efficient still. But the only way I'd be super, super happy playing Rouse instead there is if Kren was already a spider. Okay, let's play the Lizards and the Stitcher's Wings now. Transform is 6 mana on Kren. They might have their own Kren. The exact same color trio. I guess they could have any of the green-red rares. Green-red is a supported archetype. And there could even be like a particularly good green-red uncommon they chose to play instead. Off of the splash. Ooh, that card's pretty nutty. We did not see one of those in our draft pod. Double Web Keepers is hopefully better, though. So every time they cast a creature, they put a +1/+1 counter on flying on one of their creatures. Which is... gets really out of hand really fast. Man, that 5 toughness on the lizards. So good here. That does just wall us off. Oh, they're just like full on all 3 colors. If they're playing a 3-drop out of red. I mean, this is a splashable card because it's a huge card engine once it gets rolling. And from what we've seen so far, red seems lighter. Nope, they're just all 3 colors. They're completely all 3 colors. I mean, maybe white's the splash for a Lessos, and they just drew more white sources than normal. That could be it. This is a 5-drop. Now we've seen 2 red spells, only 1 white. Definite possibility. I feel like we're just going to get demolished by a Lessos here. Because despite having a bunch of spiders, we only have 1 with reach. I might even have to just equip Stitcher's Wings to somebody. To not die to them having 2 flying attackers again. Overplaying Web Keepers here? Can't be right. Whatever, I'm going all in. Do not double creature me, please. Please run out of spells eventually. Okay, removal. And a creature. That doesn't quite kill us here. But we're dead in 2 turns. Go to 1. They hold up all the blockers to make sure they're super not dead to Kren. And then they just kill us by having 1 more creature than us, even through spectacular tactics. There is no out here. Yeah, I don't have a way to gain a life. No vigilance. I mean, I can flip this and just attack all, send a message. Double my spider counters, but it's not lethal. It's not vigilant either. Yeah, we're dead no matter how we play it there. So that is game 2 now. Lively Leap on blocks seems reasonable here. I mean, the 1 card they had that had flying was a Lessos. So if they literally just don't draw a Lessos next game, then this leap might just not even matter that much. Lessos was by far the scariest card. So it looks like definitely green-red at the core splashing a Lessos, for the most part. So green-red beats. I mean, a cheap combat trick's still good in an aggressive mirror match. Helping our creature trade up for just 1 mana. Raven Cut here, one of my millions of 2-drops. I mean, Goro seems decent. They had spiders. They had 1 spider. Once again, Lessos was the only spider we saw. Weird. And this gains life too, that could matter. I do have spiders. I just cut some random 2-drop. Rid of 1 instructor. We'll hop back in there. Oh, my mountain! I forgot my mountain! I never changed it in between rounds. I only changed it in between games. Alright. 0-1 in round 2, heading into game 2 of round 2. Keepable, but very unexciting. Not the best hands this round. A mulligan round 1 and now pretty bland one here. But not as bad as our opponent. We have not had to mulligan twice in a game. Makes this hand look a lot better if it's going to be playing against a multi 5. Should be reasonable. Vibrant Cityscape is their first land for the game. It finds the plains. Crime Scene Instructor. We top decked a land which we really do not want here. We already have 5 mana off of Zan's ability. Then we hit a 6th land, which is a 7th land with Zan. This is looking sketchy. These top decks. Miss out on a counter here, but it's worth the tempo to actually play something this turn and ramp up. Got the red source, so we'll just add more to our main colors. There's the burst on the Zan. Ditcher's Wings plus Investigator pass. It's a Crime Scene Instructor, not Crime Scene Investigator. That card probably already was printed in Murders at Karloff Manor. So the name was taken. Dread Fang. Oh, yet more mana for us. Kaboom! We're down to 13. Dead to 3 flying hits from basically anybody. Don't get to haste anybody out too. Burst the spider token. Play a lurking lizards. Ooh, let's go. Actually real nice with the instructor. They are 1 hit from dead. And there's the concession. On the play plus Stitcher's Wings equals GG. Very easy one there. I like the way that we've sideboarded here. That wasn't too much of a game to really change what I want to do. We only saw cards we already saw in game 1. Not double burst this time, but I'm already about as well prepared as I can be for burst, double tactics, and a lively leap. There's nothing else we can have to really play around that. Just gonna try to juice things out of reach with equipment, but that would just make things like 4/4s on average. We got a lot of 2 mana 2/2 type cards. 1/1s. Yep. Let's hop back in for the final game of round number 1. Or round number 2. Let's head back in for the final game on round number 2. I'm gonna keep it. 3 very good cards. 4 lands is a little high for an opener, and just 1 2-drop, no 3 mana play or no other 2-drop is a bit of a slow start. But this is definitely not a mulligan. There's that turn 2 Leyline Weaver on the play. I feel like that's going to be just one of the best starts in the entire format. Thing is crushingly good for curving out. Because, especially if they have like the favored fighter alongside it on turn 3, then on turn 3 you get to cast a 4-drop and a 2-drop because the treasure token too, and you just have an insurmountably large board early. Oh, they got their own Stitcher's Wings. That's very funny. Alright. Did not draw any of our 3 mana web slingers, sadly, so we're just going to be playing another citizen. Passing. I think with multiple web keepers in our hand, I can't really like hold up double citizen. Because I really don't want to trade 2 citizens into 1 creature. Although, into 1 weaver, I guess it'd be fine. But I feel like they're probably going to be using all the mana here anyway. Maybe equipping wings or something. And the Weaver does untap a reasonable amount of the time. Cats. Haste the cats and just send 6. Okay, yeah, that's pretty bad for me. Our own cats. Favored fighter. Pass. Rouse the Swarm would be reasonable there too, just to get a Reacher as quickly as possible, but the Reacher wouldn't be big enough to kill the cats anyway, because it can buff up to 4 toughness against the 3 power blocker. Man, I might just be dead to Stitcher's Wings. This might just be the Stitcher's Wings GG round. Game 2, I Stitcher's Wings GG. Game 3, they Stitcher's Wings GG. Yeah, come to think, I don't think I have any chance here against Wings. Because even if I like rouse the Swarms now, obviously I'm not blocking this turn, and then try to Web Keepers to get this big enough to block Caracals. Like every creature they play now attacking through, because this is still just a trade for Caracals. Even if I do this and then put a counter on it. Oh my god, and then Alessos as well? Yeah, this game was going to be unwinnable on the draw here. Okay, you got me. We needed to be on the play 2 out of 3 games to have any chance here, and I think even then, it'd be very difficult to beat Wings plus Alessos. Gain 1 life here. I can gain 1 life here and pray that that is enough. That is literally the only line I have. Gain 1 and have a chumper up. I probably should have sent this in before I did that. It might have been more likely to chump at that rate. Without knowing what's going on. Still had all these. Yeah, that was unnecessary way to do it, because they could have spread out and have even more damage, but they were just like, nah, just 1 7 power flyer and then removal spell it. I guess the only way to get lethal there is removal spelling, but they still could have spread out the board and done even more damage with the removal, but I guess it was unnecessary at 7. But yeah, just having another creature in that hand kind of kills us no matter what, because then they get to just play the creature, buff somebody else, and attack both. I have to just block this one and trade and take 6, go to 1, or chump this one and go to like 4. Yeah, we were dead even without the removal, but the removal was the only way to kill us that turn. Gross stuff. All right, here we are starting off round number 3. We are 1-1 in these rounds, so I really do want to win this round to get that 2 out of 1 here. Positive record. Lost to a mirror match in round 2. They got to be on the play twice, get that natural aggressive advantage there, and we just got overwhelmed by too much flying. So, fair enough. See if we can web sling here. That would be the best case scenario. If we can't, we'll spectacular tactics to keep our threat on the board. We do get to web sling, and I keep forgetting to put the mountain in between rounds, and now it's too late. So no mountain will be got here. But that's okay. There's only 1 card in the whole deck that will use it, and that card doesn't even need it. It just prefers to have it. Alright, tap out for the knife trick. Still got our value out of Vizan with the ramp. Ooh. There's gonna be a big lurking lizards. I don't mind this play at all, because this, against green-red, they're likely to play something beefy here I can blow up. And I still get to use most of my mana. And then I get to start just swarming the board. Juicing everybody up every turn. I will take 3. I'm not going to try to combat trick their Fanatic away against all this open mana. where they can respond with our own trick and 2-for-1 us, killing the lizards and the tactics off of just one spell. Pretty important to try to play your combat tricks when your opponent's tapped out, which is why they're usually a lot better during your turn than during your opponent's turn. Razorkin is not for power, unfortunately. That's a bummer. Alright. We'll start buffing up the team. Hold up our interaction here. We're happy with any case scenario here, because Spectacular Tactics can't kill the Razorkin unless it blocks anyway. And I'm wanting to kill the Razorkin. And if they don't block, then hey, it's some free damage. We do get to kill the Razorkin here. So I basically just turned Spectacular Tactics into destroy target creature with power 3 or greater off of that attack. Although, I do take some damage for doing that. Now I don't have the 4 toughness blocker to hold them off. That's probably fine. We've got a couple life more of life gain with another Rouse the Swarm. I could play the Web Keepers first so that this is a gain 3, but that feels wrong. Feels better to have more creatures to put the counters on. Since Rouse the Swarm doesn't care if we play it first or second, but Web Keepers really has to be played second to buff up the other creature. I can't play Web Keepers and then cast another creature and have the creature that I cast after Web Keepers get the buff. But with Rouse the Swarm I can't. Play it at any time, and all my spiders will always have the buff. Okay, and now if I draw a 2-drop, that makes a very good argument for definitely playing Rouse the Swarm here, because we can double spell as well. I'm still jamming here. They only have 5 power on their board. 13 is definitely lower than the 15 that we put them at for attacking. But I feel quite safe right now. We have 2 blockers up for the 2 attackers. If they play any big spiders, we got the Goro. Okay. Get rid of the Fanatic here. Ooh. Punished for not running a mountain. It do be like that sometimes. That's an instant speed ability. I should have just passed and done that during the end step. It would have played out the exact same way, but then our opponent has to consider, oh, what if they're holding up instant speed removal or something? And now they just know that I'm not. I think that's the best play with Web Keepers in hand by quite a lot. So that next turn I get to Web Keepers and it's actually incredible on the board. But it is still better to do it in their end step, obviously. Alright, this should be pretty deadly. Down to 8 here, I am getting moderately concerned about crackback, so I'm not going to send in all 3 creatures. But I will send in all the flying damage. Oh yeah, they're planning some nonsense here. Let's see what they got. Okay, I got really scared when they did that. Yeah, if I didn't block String Puller, I would literally be dead. I got really scared I was about to see a trample trick alongside that. But I don't remember if there even is one. Well, there's my red source. Face this out and kill them soon. I mean, I can just flip it once it's on the board. So, just play a million bajillion blockers to be quite safe here. And then I can also just flip it and win off of it next turn. get some counters on my spider for the double encounters on spider's ability. They're at 3 life. Basically, a light breeze is already lethal, so we'll just spread out all the counters. Okay. 1-0 for round number 3. We are only 1 win away from getting a 2-1 run this time around. Let's put that mountain in there. It's the only game we were actually punished for not having a mountain. We could have hasted out Kren earlier and probably won a little faster. Had we tutored for the mountain off of Zan. But yeah, I like the deck. I think it's solid. I don't really think it needs to change much. I'm pretty happy with the matchup. Very similar to our matchup last round. We just gotta dodge like good flying threats or something like that. And we should be fine. Let's run it back. Head into game 2 of round 3. Mono wide opening hand, but this actually has 3 castable spells. So I'm going to greed it up. We're on the draw. That gives us more draw steps to hit our lands before we need them. We have 3 cheap castable spells to slow our opponent down. Turn 2 Leyline Weaver on the play is obnoxious. We also have the Gallant Citizen to draw towards more mana, and it hits a 3rd planes. That's sketchy. I genuinely think if I had to pick any ideal turn 2 in the whole set, it would probably be turn 2 Leyline Weaver. I think I like that better than turn 2 Gallant Citizen. For just the potential blowout curves it can lead to. Like, if this hand had our Leyline Weaver in it, I mean, we'd have to have the green source too. Then we would have the turn 2 Weaver, turn 3 Favored Fighter, and then untap the Weaver, have the treasure, use the treasure, play another 2-drop. It's just so insane with those curves. Oh, God. Well, we have drawn none of our green lands and exclusively green spells so far. Just white lands and green spells now. Turtle up as best as I can until we find the green mana. Galvanized Workforce. The big reason I didn't attack with Citizen is that Citizen's very good against the Chariot right now. They can only save one of these with a combat trick. They're going to save neither. That looks good to me, because I need to prolong this game, because all I can do is draw green spells with my triple planes. This is getting worse and worse. It's 2-1, but it puts more pressure on me. Alright, we're back in it. We are back in it. Let's play the treasure token producer. And then next turn play Zan, picking up another green source. Even with Kren in hand, it's very important to be able to cast 2 of these green spells in 1 turn to start flipping the corner and stabilizing our board. We're not going to be able to do that playing 1 card a turn, because then you just play 1 removal spell a turn until we die. So we get on to 9. Okay, thank God. We top decked a green source, so now I don't even have to do Zan here. Play 6 mana worth of spells. The Lizards and the Rouse the Swarm looks like the best way to set up blocks. Sad day for Kren. No more red mana, but it is definitely worth it here to turtle up. Try to stop the damage they're swinging in at us. Whenever they galvanize the workforce, whenever they buff it up, we have the tactics for it. And until then, we already have a 2-4 to stop the 2-2. Alright, buff it up now. Fair enough. No attack, though. Very happy to see that. So let's... be mana efficient. gonna pick up this pigeon with Zan. Those food tokens are super valuable for us right now. Boom, we have officially turned the corner. I think we're in the lead now. By a solid margin here. We'll throw Miles Morales just directly under the bus. We don't need him. Already cracked our red source away from him. It's a great Shroud target. Hit for 8 there at 5. Excellent top deck here. Boom, and we are 2-0 in that final round. That is 2-1 overall. A close round number 2, but we don't quite get that one. And that means that it is 2-1 overall. Even if, again, round 2 was 1-2 loss, not an 0-2 loss or anything. So overall, pretty solid run. That translates to about a 5-3 in terms of win rate. Considering our 1 loss round, we did win a game in it. It was a 1-2 round. So that is above average record here. Not quite the 3-0, which is a bummer to not get the full prize out here, but very solid spot for this deck. Pretty solid deck overall. I think the biggest issue that it had that could have improved it and probably won us the entire draft was just a bit more removal, a bit more interaction. Our removal is certainly lacking in this deck. We have 1 Mothwing Shroud for something that can actually deal with like whatever we want, and then the 2 Spectacular Tactics are a little bit narrow. They only blow up the bigger stuff, and that gives us only 3 removal spells total. So as you could see in those losses, basically both of our losses in the round that we lost overall, it was because they had a resolved Alessos that we couldn't interact with. They just had an Alessos and we did not have any of our 3 removal spells. So a bit more removal, and I think we stand a better chance in that 1 round that we lost and have a better deck overall. That is the only thing really stopping it from being a potential 3-0 here, and we saw it come into play in that sense. I think what we would want to swap out for more removal here would be a little bit of the 2 drops, because again, we have a bajillion of those. So we could cut like the 2 Instructors for 2 more Mothwing Shrouds, and the deck's basically perfect. So very solid deck overall, just not quite the full 3-0 with it. Not quite perfect, but super reasonable, and a good showing of just green-white beatdown with some web-slinging synergies. Not a whole ton of it. I only got 2 web-slingers in this deck, but enough to show off the picking up citizens and recasting them to draw cards. Never got to do the City Pigeon thing, but that's also pretty self-explanatory with Zan. And got to show off some Kren stuff. Never got to flip the Kren or cast the other half, but still got some good value off the front half of Kren in multiple of those games. Biggest overperformers, underperformers. Everything performed basically how I thought it would. I guess the biggest cards to keep an eye on, the biggest cards that I think are just excellent, these Web Keepers. And I guess the Rouse the Swarms were like a minor underperformer here. They weren't like perfect. We're a little bit lower on spiders than where I would have wanted to be, and then also Kren not being a spider on the front half is a little weird. But they were still okay in here. They were still solid in here. But yeah, the Web Keepers are just really good cards. I would highly recommend taking super highly. Leyline Weaver, I think this is just one of the best 2 drops in the whole sets. It's super flexible too. You play it in your green-white decks and you're happy. You play it in your green-red decks, and obviously that's where you're incredibly happy. But it's great in any deck that can turn 2 Weaver, turn 3 Favorite Fighter. That's just obnoxiously good. And it's great just ramping into anything else also. You don't have to have that specific combo. It's just really, really brutal when you do. Alright, that's enough of rambling. We will scoop up our prizes here, grab 1,000 gems back out of this event, as well as 3 through the Omenpaths booster packs. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send some more in the recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.